CreepyCorner stories.
There are places on the internet you're not supposed to find. Hidden forums, private streams, jobs that don't exist on any website. Tonight's stories comes from one of those places. What you're about to hear isn't a legend. It's not a creepypasta. It's something someone actually lived through. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and welcome to CreepyCorner Stories. Also, if you enjoy the stories, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment down below. It really helps this channel grow. And before we dive in, I want to say thank you to Lisa Cullen and Dark Impulse 85. I took a dark web one-night babysitting job in a mansion, but the baby and his parents were nothing like I expected. Yo, I don't even know how to start this, but if you're watching this at night, yeah, you're probably gonna double check your locks by the time I'm done. This happened about 6 months ago. I hadn't even told my best friend about it until recently, and even then, I lied about some details, because I didn't want her thinking I was crazy, or worse, cursed. Anyway, I was broke, like real broke. Ramen noodle and Wi-Fi from the Starbucks parking lot, kinda broke. I just moved to Los Angeles. Big dream, little money, and the rent was chewing through my savings like Pac-Man on meth. And if you've ever looked for jobs in LA, you know they want you to have a master's degree just to work the drive-thru at In-N-Out. So one night, I was on Reddit, scrolling r/4hire, and eventually ended up in a thread about weird side hustles. Most of it was the usual: sell feet pics, deliver weed, test sketchy apps. But one comment caught my eye. It just said, dark web gigs, pay cash, fast, no questions asked. Look for Red Veil listings. They're the real ones. I should have scrolled past. I really should have. But something about the name Red Veil felt cinematic. Creepy, but legit. And I'm not proud of this, but I'd been browsing some .onion directories lately out of boredom. You can find anything on there. Fake passports, bodyguard services, people live streaming rituals in warehouses in Eastern Europe. Most of it's fake, I figured. Internet cosplay for psychos. But the Red Veil link I found was clean. Simple. No gore. Just a black screen with red serif font. It had job listings, babysitting, pet watching, house sitting. All of them had a weird vibe, like someone was translating English from another language. Here's the one I clicked. Seeking responsible youth, aged 18 to 26, to observe infant overnight at historic property in Beverly Hills. No direct care required. Infant remains in crib. Parents will be out of town. Payment, $1,800, cash, on arrival. Non-disclosure expected. No direct care, $1,800. Overnight, I should have known something was off, but I was desperate and stupid, and I've babysat before. I used to watch my aunt's twins in Michigan. I figured some rich family just needed a warm body in the house for liability reasons. I clicked apply, and it opened an anonymous email client. I typed in a burner Gmail account I use for spam. Seconds later, I got a response. You are accepted. Arrival at 7 p.m. sharp. Do not be late. Address 421 Morwin Lane, Beverly Hills. Do not share location. Phones not permitted inside. You will be provided secure storage. Use provided keypad code 1919 hash. No name, no contact, just an address. I googled it, and to my surprise, it was a real place. The photos on Google Maps showed a massive gated estate, covered in ivy, with these weird stone statues lining the driveway. I even found a Yelp review from like 2014 talking about some film production that used it for a haunted house shoot. The review said, "Creepy as hell, smells like incense and sadness. 10 out of 10 would film again." I laughed it off and texted my roommate I'd be crashing at a friend's in Santa Monica. I Ubered there just before sunset. It was one of those cold California nights where the wind feels like it's whispering secrets through your hoodie. The driver dropped me at the gate and noped out before I even got the chance to say thanks. Red flag number 87. I punched in the code 1919 hash. The iron gate creaked open with this long, rusty groan like it hadn't moved in years. Past, it was a gravel driveway that seemed way longer in person than it looked on maps. Like, way longer. I walked for what felt like 10 minutes, past hedges and statues that looked vaguely human but weren't quite right. The kind of statues where you're not sure if the eyes are closed or just looking down at you. When I reached the house, the front door opened before I knocked. A woman stood there, pale, black hair pinned back like she was an actress from the 1920s, red lipstick, zero smile. "You are punctual," she said. Her voice had a slight accent I couldn't place. Eastern European. She stepped aside. "Come. The child is resting." Inside, the house was massive. Vaulted ceilings, candle-like chandeliers, walls covered in old oil paintings that looked like they watched you when you turned. No TVs, no Alexa, not even a microwave. It felt like a time capsule. Not haunted exactly, but preserved. She led me down a carpeted hallway to a small room with dark wallpaper and one window overlooking the backyard, which I swear had no lights at all, just total blackness. The crib was in the center, white wood, old-fashioned. Inside was the baby, except he wasn't crying or sleeping. He was just staring, not like babies normally do, with that glazed-over wonder. This kid's eyes locked with mine the moment I entered, deep blue eyes, too focused, like he knew me or was studying me. "This is Eli," the woman said, brushing her hand over the baby's forehead without looking down. "He will not disturb you. Do not pick him up. Do not leave this room until sunrise." "Wait, what?" "Sorry, what if I need to pee or something?" I laughed a little. "There is a basin," she said, motioning to a covered bucket in the corner, like we were in the 1800s. "You will be compensated for discomfort." She left without another word, her heels not making a single sound on the floor. The door clicked shut. I heard a latch. Okay. At this point, I was still trying to convince myself this was just some weird, eccentric family. Hollywood's full of them, right? But that baby man, he didn't blink, just stared at me like he remembered me from somewhere, like I owed him something. The hours crawled. Midnight came. I sat in the rocking chair, scrolling TikTok on silent. I saw a girl doing a Starbucks drink hack, a guy pranking McDonald's workers, someone stitching a video about haunted tunnels under LA. It felt surreal, like those videos were from a different planet. This room didn't exist in the same world. Then, at exactly 3:13 a.m., I heard something, not from the baby, from the walls. It was like breathing, heavy, slow, like someone sleeping inside the drywall. I pressed my ear to the wall behind the crib. It got louder, rhythmic, wet, and then the baby laughed, for the first time all night. Except it wasn't a baby laugh. It sounded like a man's laugh, deep, mocking, from inside that tiny body. I swear to God, it said one word, Run. The word run kept bouncing around the room like a rubber ball trapped in my skull. I didn't move. I don't know why. Fear does that sometimes. It freezes you into pretending nothing is wrong. Like if you stay still enough, the universe might forget you're there. The baby, Eli, went quiet again. His mouth closed. His eyes stayed open, still staring at me. The breathing in the walls didn't stop. It traveled. That's the only way I can describe it. 1 second, it was behind the crib. The next, it was above me, like something heavy was crawling through the structure of the house itself. The sound made the old paintings vibrate faintly, the frames ticking against the walls like nervous teeth. I checked my phone. No service. No Wi-Fi. The time glitched for a second. 3:13 a.m., then 3:12, then back to 3:13. My TikTok feed wouldn't load anymore. Instagram opened, but every story was just gone. Black circles where faces should have been. I tried texting my roommate anyway. Me. Still alive. Weird job. Explain later. Delivered, denied. That's when I noticed the room smelled different. Not like baby powder or old wood anymore. It was coppery, damp, like rain soaked into pennies. I stood up slowly, every joint cracking too loud in the silence, and took a step toward the door. Locked. Not just locked, sealed. The handle wouldn't even turn. No give, no rattle, like it had fused into the door itself. Behind me, the rocking chair started moving. I hadn't touched it. Just a slow, steady creak, back and forth, like someone invisible was testing it out. I turned around, heart smashing against my ribs, and that's when I realized something about the baby. He was standing, inside the crib. Babies don't stand like that. Not straight-backed, not balanced, without holding on to anything. His hands were at his sides, his head tilted slightly, studying me the way adults do when they're trying to decide if you're lying. His mouth opened again. "You weren't supposed to hear that," he said. Same voice, same wrongness, deep and dry, like it hadn't been used in a long time. I backed up until my shoulders hit the door. I remember thinking this was it. This was how those YouTube animated horror stories start. The ones where the narrator says, "I know this sounds fake, but please listen." Except this wasn't a story. My legs were shaking so bad I thought they'd give out. "What are you?" I whispered. The baby smiled, and I swear to God, his teeth were too many. Not sharp, just crowded, like they'd been forced into a mouth that wasn't built for them. "I'm early," he said. "That's why you're here." The breathing in the walls stopped. Something knocked from the other side of the room. 3 slow thuds, spaced perfectly apart. Not on the door. On the wall behind the crib. The wall bowed inward slightly with each hit, like it was flexible, like skin. Eli didn't even flinch. "They're impatient," he said, sounding almost bored. "They hate waiting." "Who?" I asked, immediately hating myself for asking. He turned his head toward the wall, listening. "The ones who raised my parents." The lights flickered. For a split second, the room wasn't a nursery anymore. It was bigger, taller. The wallpaper peeled back in strips, revealing symbols carved into the walls underneath. Circles inside circles, lines that bent the wrong way, handprints that were too large to belong to any human. Then the light stabilized, and everything snapped back like nothing had happened. I was breathing too loud. I tried to slow it down. "You said babysitting," I said. "You said no care required." "That's still true," Eli replied. "You're not here to watch me." Another knock, closer this time. from the ceiling. Something scratched along the floor above us, dragging slowly, like it was mapping the room by sound alone. My phone vibrated in my hand. I almost dropped it. A notification finally came through. Not a text, not a call, a video file. No sender, no thumbnail, just a timestamp from 10 minutes in the future. Against every survival instinct I had left, I pressed play. The video was grainy, black and white, night vision. It showed the driveway outside the mansion, the statues, the gate, and then me, walking up the path. Same clothes, same backpack, same nervous way I kept adjusting the strap on my shoulder. The video followed me from behind like someone was filming with a drone. I watched myself stop at the front door. The door opened. The woman stood there. But in the video, when she smiled, her mouth split too wide. Her jaw unhinged like a snake's. And behind her, in the darkness of the house, I saw dozens of eyes open at once. The video cut. My phone screen cracked down the middle, spiderwebbing under its own pressure. It shut off completely. "That's not supposed to happen yet," Eli muttered, frowning for the first time. "You're seeing ahead." The knocking stopped. Silence poured into the room, thick and heavy. My ears rang like I'd just been underwater. Then, softly, from somewhere deep inside the house, I heard a woman screaming. Not panicked screaming, not sudden. It was the sound of someone who'd been screaming for a long time and had just found the energy to start again. Eli's eyes snapped to mine. "That's the last sitter," he said. "She didn't follow the rules." My stomach dropped. How many people have done this job?" I asked. He shrugged. A baby shrug. Small. Casual. Enough to keep the house standing. The door behind me clicked. Unlocked. Before I could move, Eli raised one finger. "Don't leave," he said. "They don't like it when you leave early." The lights went out, and something warm brushed against my ankle in the dark. Something that felt like a hand, but had too many joints. I screamed, and from everywhere at once, the house screamed back. I'm shaking just typing this. Darkness has weight. I didn't know that until the lights went out, and it felt like the room pressed inward, like the air itself was trying to smother me. I couldn't see my hands. I couldn't see the crib. I couldn't even hear my own breathing anymore. Just that wet, sliding sound near my ankle, slowly circling, testing. Whatever it was didn't grab me right away. It learned me first, traced the shape of my calf, paused at my knee. I felt fingernails, not sharp, not gentle, counting bones. I kicked. My foot connected with something soft and wrong. There was a sound like a throat trying to scream without air. The pressure vanished instantly. Then the lights came back on. The room looked the same, but it felt rearranged. The crib was closer, the door farther away. The rocking chair was overturned. Its curved runners snapped clean off, like someone had twisted them until they gave up. Eli was gone. Not in the crib. Not on the floor. Gone. My ears rang again, and that's when I noticed the walls were bleeding. Not dripping, seeping. Thin, dark lines pushing through the wallpaper, soaking into the floral pattern like ink in water. The smell of copper got stronger, enough to make my mouth fill with saliva, like I was about to throw up. The door was still unlocked. I didn't hesitate this time. I ran. The hallway outside was longer than it should have been. Each step echoed like I was running through a tunnel instead of a mansion. Doors lined both sides, dozens of them, some open, some closed, all pitch black inside. As I passed the open ones, I heard things, whispering, not voices exactly, more like thoughts leaking out, half-formed sentences, begging, laughing, someone repeating the word please over and over like a mantra. I didn't look inside any of them. I knew if I did, I'd stop running, and stopping felt like dying. Halfway down the hall, my phone vibrated again in my pocket. It turned on by itself. The screen showed a live video from my own front-facing camera. I could see my face as I ran, eyes wide, hair plastered to my forehead with sweat. Behind me, in the video, something tall unfolded itself out of the darkness. It didn't show up when I glanced over my shoulder, only on the screen, its limbs bent the wrong way. Too many elbows, its head dragged low, scraping the floor, but its eyes were level with the camera, fixed on me, smiling. A caption appeared over the video feed. "You're doing great. Don't stop." The hallway split. Not literally. More like reality forgot which version it wanted to be. 1 second, I was running straight. The next, there were 2 identical hallways branching off, mirror images down to the cracks in the floor. I skidded to a stop. The video feed froze, then rewound. I watched myself choose the left hallway, watched myself disappear into the dark. The video cut back to life. I was still standing there, staring at the split. I chose the right. The air got colder immediately. Not AC cold, morgue cold. The kind that sinks into your bones and stays there. The lights overhead flickered like they were struggling to remember how electricity worked. At the end of the hallway was a staircase leading down. Basements in LA mansions are rare. I knew that. But the staircase was there anyway, yawning open, each step uneven like it had been carved by hand. I heard music drifting up from below. A lullaby. Not one I recognized, but it had that same slow, circular melody, the kind meant to keep you from noticing time passing. I descended without meaning to. My feet moved on their own, each step heavier than the last. The basement was huge, bigger than the house should have allowed. Concrete walls stained dark, chains bolted into the floor, old furniture shoved against the walls, cribs, high chairs, broken toys, stuff from different decades, different eras. In the center of the room was a long table, and on it were photos, hundreds of them, Polaroids, phone prints, security stills, all of people like me, young, tired, smiling awkwardly at the camera like they didn't know they were already dead. Each photo had a name scribbled underneath, and a date. Most of the dates ended at exactly 5 a.m. Some didn't. Those photos were altered, faces scratched out, eyes burned black, mouths pinned open with something metallic. I didn't look too closely. My brain refused to process the details. "That's the overflow," a voice said behind me. I spun around. Eli stood at the top of the stairs now, still a baby, still small, but wrong in ways I couldn't explain. His shadow stretched across the ceiling, long and twisted, like it belonged to something else entirely. "You weren't supposed to come down here," he said, sounding almost disappointed. "Now you know how it works." I backed away from the table. "You kill people," I said. He tilted his head. "No," he corrected. "The house keeps them." The walls shuddered, like they were breathing again. I noticed then that some of the chains were moving on their own, inching across the floor toward me, metal scraping softly. "My parents feed it," Eli continued. "They bring it caretakers, witnesses, people who won't be missed right away. The house doesn't like children. It needs adults to hold it together." The chains were closer now. "Why me?" I asked. He smiled again, that crowded, awful smile. "Because you looked," The lights went out again. This time, something grabbed me by the wrist and yanked. I slammed into the concrete floor, skin tearing, pain exploding up my arm. Hands, dozens of them, dragged me across the basement, nails digging in, pulling me towards the center of the room. I screamed until my throat went raw. Through the chaos, through the noise and the pain, I heard Eli's voice, one last time. "If you make it to sunrise," he said calmly, "you get to leave." I felt something cold clamp around my ankle. "And if you don't," he added, "you get to stay." I don't like thinking about what almost happened down there. Pain has layers. That's something nobody tells you. There's the sharp, immediate kind that steals your breath, and then there's the deeper one that settles in and starts making decisions for you. The second kind is what woke me up. I was lying on my side on cold tile, cheek pressed against something sticky that pulled at my skin when I moved. My wrist screamed when I tried to push myself up. Whatever had grabbed me in the basement hadn't let go gently. I could feel the pulse in my arm, hot and frantic, like my body was arguing with itself about whether it should keep going. The basement was gone. I was in a kitchen, a massive, immaculate kitchen that looked straight out of some architectural digest spread. Marble counters, stainless steel appliances, a massive island with 3 bar stools lined up perfectly. If it weren't for the fact that the windows showed nothing but blackness outside, I might have believed I'd imagined everything. On the counter next to me was a glass of water, still cold, condensation beading down the side. Someone had been there recently. I sat up slowly. My reflection stared back at me from the oven door, warped but recognizable, pale, eyes bloodshot, hair matted to my face. There were faint hand-shaped bruises blooming up my forearm, dark against my skin, like fingerprints burned in. A digital clock on the microwave read 4:47 a.m., 13 minutes. That's all I had. The house was quiet now, not the tense, listening quiet from before. This was different, expectant, like the pause right before an audience starts clapping or screaming. I staggered to my feet, every step sending a jolt through my body. The kitchen had multiple exits, a hallway, a swinging door, a glass door that probably led to the backyard. I chose the glass door. The moment my hand touched the handle, the glass fogged instantly from the inside. Words appeared, traced slowly, as if by an invisible finger. Wrong way. I stumbled back, heart slamming. The words faded, leaving behind my distorted reflection again. This time, something stood behind me in it. I didn't turn around. I bolted through the hallway instead. The layout of the house had changed again. Rooms I hadn't seen before opened up around me. A home theater with seats torn to shreds. A dining room set for a meal that had long since rotted into black sludge. A playroom filled with toys that looked chewed on, broken, reassembled wrong. Every mirror I passed showed me arriving at a different time. In one, I looked untouched, still hopeful. In another, my clothes were ripped, my face streaked with something dark. In one I barely recognized, I wasn't moving at all. The clock ticked louder with every step, even when I couldn't see it anymore. The sound followed me, echoing in my skull. 4:51. I found the front hall by accident. The massive doors loomed ahead of me, tall and carved with symbols I didn't want to understand. The iron handle was inches from my grasp. A voice spoke behind me. "You're rushing." The woman from the front door stood at the base of the staircase. She looked unchanged, perfect, calm, like nothing in the world had ever surprised her. "You said sunrise," I snapped, turning to face her. "You said I could leave." She smiled softly. "I said if." The house groaned around us, a deep, settling sound, like something massive shifting its weight. Cracks spread across the ceiling, spiderwebbing outward. Dust rained down. "You can't keep doing this," I said, my voice shaking. "People notice. People disappear." "They always notice," she replied. "They just never agree on what they saw." She stepped closer. I noticed then that she didn't cast a shadow. The lights bent around her like she was a hole in the room instead of a person. 4:55. The front doors began to open on their own, inch by inch. Cold air rushed in, carrying the scent of wet grass and distant traffic. Real sounds. Cars. A siren far away. Life. Hope surged in my chest so fast it hurt. The woman's smile widened. "You can leave," she said, "but the house doesn't like loose ends." Something moved behind her on the staircase, a shape I recognized without wanting to. Small. Still. Eli. He stood a few steps up, watching us. His eyes met mine, and for the first time, I saw something like fear flicker across his face. "You don't belong here," he said quietly. "Not to me. To the house." The walls shuddered violently. A picture frame shattered. The floor warped under my feet, buckling like it was made of rubber. The air filled with a sound like screaming played backward. 4:58. The woman turned toward Eli, her expression hardening. "He's staying," she said. Eli shook his head. "No," he replied. "It's done." The house screamed. I didn't wait to see what that meant. I threw myself toward the opening doors, my shoulders slamming into solid wood as the house tried to close them again. Something grabbed my backpack, yanking me back hard enough to tear the strap clean off. I fell forward. The world flipped. And then I was outside. The doors slammed shut behind me with a force that rattled the ground. The mansion went still, silent, normal. Just another rich person's nightmare, hiding behind hedges and gates. I lay there gasping, staring up at the sky as it slowly began to lighten. 5:01 a.m. I laughed. I cried. I did both until my throat burned. I dragged myself to my feet and staggered down the driveway, past the statues that looked more lifeless now than they had before. At the gate, my phone buzzed. One final notification, a payment confirmation, $1,800 deposited, and beneath it, a message. "Thank you for your service. Please consider leaving a review." I didn't look back at the house. I should have. I thought surviving meant winning. That's the lie people tell themselves so they can sleep. Survival feels heroic in movies. In real life, it's quiet. It's awkward. It's waking up the next day and realizing the world didn't reset just because you almost died. I didn't go home after I left that gate. I couldn't. I wandered until my legs stopped shaking, ended up at a McDonald's off Sunset that was open 24/7. Fluorescent lights, cracked vinyl seats, a teenager behind the counter, scrolling on his phone like the universe had never tried to eat anyone alive. I ordered a coffee. I didn't drink and sat there until morning traffic started, convincing myself I was safe because nothing impossible had happened in the last 10 minutes. That's how it gets you. By letting you believe the danger has an expiration date. When I finally got back to my apartment, my roommate was asleep on the couch with Netflix still playing. Some animated horror compilation, auto-playing quietly, distorted screams leaking from the speakers. I turned it off and stood there for a long time, watching her chest rise and fall, grounding myself in the fact that other humans still existed. I showered, scrubbed until my skin was red. The water ran brown at first. Not blood, dirt, old dust. Whatever had touched me didn't come off easy. I slept for 14 hours straight, and when I woke up, my phone had new notifications, not messages, memories. Instagram showed me a throwback from tomorrow, a photo of the Beverly Hills gate, taken from inside my camera roll. I hadn't taken it. The caption underneath read, "First night's always the hardest." I deleted it. It came back. I blocked the account that posted it. The block failed. Over the next few days, things got wrong in smaller ways, manageable ways, the kind you can rationalize if you try hard enough. My Uber app started suggesting drop-offs near Morwin Lane. Google Maps rerouted me past unfamiliar gated neighborhoods. YouTube autoplayed videos titled "Real Babysitting Horror Stories," even though I'd never searched for them. I stopped sleeping with the lights off after I caught my reflection blinking out of sync with me in the bathroom mirror. I told myself I was traumatized, that this was PTSD, nightmares bleeding into reality. That happens, right? Then the email started, not from Redvale, from people, anonymous accounts, no profile pictures, no usernames I recognized. Is the job still available? They said you'd explain the rules. What happens if the baby cries? I didn't reply. I threw my phone across the room when one message came through with a photo attached. It was my apartment hallway, taken from outside my door. I moved out that night, left most of my stuff behind, crashed with a friend in Burbank who didn't ask questions because I looked like someone who'd bite if pushed. For a while, it worked. The messages slowed. The glitches stopped. I started believing distance mattered. Then I got a DM on TikTok, a new animated horror channel. 0 followers, 0 likes. One video uploaded an hour earlier. The thumbnail was a cartoon mansion. The title, "I took a one-night babysitting job, and something followed me home." My voice narrated the intro, not recorded, recreated, perfect cadence, same pauses, same nervous laugh I do when I'm about to say something awful. The comments were full of people tagging friends, saying stuff like "fake but creepy" and "bro needs therapy." At the end of the video, the animation cut to a nursery, a crib, empty. Text appeared on screen, "Part 2, coming soon." I reported it. TikTok said it didn't violate community guidelines. That night, I dreamed of the house again, but it wasn't in Beverly Hills. It was everywhere. A McDonald's play place stretching too far back, a Starbucks bathroom with a door that wouldn't unlock, a mansion stitched together from familiar places, all wrong at the seams. In the dream, Eli stood at the center, older now, maybe 5, maybe 10. Time didn't stick to him. "You left," he said, not accusing, just stating a fact. "I survived," I replied. He smiled sadly. "No," he said, "you expanded." I woke up choking on air, my phone vibrating on the nightstand. A final message. No sender, no app, just text on a black screen. "We're full. You'll do." That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, I've noticed people watching me in reflections, not following, waiting. I hear breathing sometimes when my apartment is quiet, not in the walls, in me. I found the Redvale listing again yesterday. Same wording, same pay, but now, under contact, there's a note. "Previous sitter available for questions." That's why I'm writing this. Not as a warning. Warnings don't work. This is a review. If you take the job, follow the rules. If the baby talks, don't answer. If you see sunrise, don't celebrate. And if you get out and think it's over, you're wrong. Because the house doesn't move, it connects. And now it knows my name. I explored an abandoned airport for dark web video, but what I found made me delete my channel forever. Alright, so, I've never posted on Reddit before. This is actually the first time I'm even typing this story out, and honestly, I wasn't planning on sharing it. But after everything that happened, after what I saw, I don't know, man. Maybe someone else needs to hear it. Maybe you'll believe me. Maybe you won't. But if you run a YouTube channel, especially if you dabble in dark web content or exploration stuff, just don't mess with abandoned airports. I won't say the real location, because what happens next? Guys, I just don't want to get demonetized. Okay? For context, I used to run a channel called Urban Spook HD. Small, nothing crazy. We were at like 112,000 subscribers, doing those late night creepy exploration vids. Think Sam and Colby, but with half the budget and none of the chill. We'd explore places like closed down insane asylums, shuttered malls, old hospitals. But our thing was taking requests from viewers off the dark web. Yeah, that dark web. People would send us coordinates, usually places with urban legends or rumors around them, sometimes even challenges. One time we went to this dried up lake in Utah where people said they'd seen bodies float up at night. Another time, someone dared us to spend 24 hours under a freeway in Texas that had like 0 cell signal. Most of it was dumb, edgy teen stuff, and 99% of the time, it was just mold, trash, or graffiti. But then someone sent a private message through a tour-based contact form we'd set up. The message was only 3 things: coordinates, LAX, gate, 17, decommissioned. You'll see her, film it, upload it raw, no edits, no cuts. At first, we thought it was fake. There's no way anyone could get into an abandoned part of a major airport like LAX. But when we punched in the coordinates, they didn't lead to LAX proper. They pointed to a weird fenced-off section about half a mile southeast, something that didn't appear on Google Maps unless you scrolled real slow at a weird angle. It was like off the grid, almost like someone didn't want you to notice it unless you really knew where to look. Naturally, we went. I remember the night vividly. I picked up my co-host Max at a 24-hour Starbucks in Inglewood. We grabbed black coffees and some cake pops because he had a sugar problem, and I don't know. Looking back, that memory feels so normal, it makes everything after even more messed up. We parked about a mile from the fence and walked the rest of the way with gear on our backs. It was around 1:12 a.m. when we got there. The place was quiet, like too quiet. No crickets, no planes overhead, just this massive rusted gate and a bunch of twisted barbed wire. And the weird part? Someone had already cut the wire. Like, not recently, but it was clean, purposeful, as if someone expected us. We stepped in. Inside was this huge stretch of broken asphalt and dead grass with weird patches of concrete that looked almost wet. I remember shining my flashlight at the ground and seeing something that looked like tread marks. Fresh ones, like a vehicle had been there recently. But there was no vehicle, not a soul in sight. We kept walking toward what used to be the terminal. It looked like something out of a Fallout game. Broken windows, flickering emergency lights that were somehow still wired to something, and faded signs that still read, Gate 17, International. There were papers scattered all over the floor, boarding passes, torn up magazines, old menus from a Burger King that had clearly been dead for over a decade. Max kept saying, "Bro, this is so sick," but even he was visibly shaking. We got inside, started filming. You know the drill. Handheld cam, fake banter, spooky zoom-ins. But about 10 minutes in, Max asked, "Did you hear that?" I hadn't, but then I did. A long, drawn-out scraping sound, metal against tile. From the old baggage claim, we both went silent. No birds, no wind. Just that slow, steady scrape. So we did the dumbest thing ever. We followed it, like idiots. The baggage claim area was in shambles. Conveyor belts long dead, wires dangling like vines, the floor covered in black mildew. And then we saw the carousel. It was moving, just a little, just rotating, ever so slightly, like someone had bumped it, but there was no one around. Then I noticed something. There was a suitcase on the belt. It was pristine, brand new, black Samsonite hard shell with a luggage tag that read, in tiny faded print, passenger Sylvia Marshall, flight number 666LHR, date April 11th, 1993. That was 33 years ago. Max went to grab it. I told him not to, but of course, Max never listens. He hoisted it up, and it felt heavy, like too heavy for a single case. He popped the latches. They clicked with this clean, oiled sound, like the thing had just been packed yesterday. Inside was... no. Inside was a VHS tape, just sitting there, on top of something wrapped in bubble wrap. The tape had a label on it, in perfect black marker. She waits. We stood there for a solid 30 seconds. I didn't even want to touch the rest of the contents. Max started to, but the moment he did, the lights in the ceiling flickered back on. All of them, in sequence, one by one, like dominoes, lighting up the entire hall. And that's when we saw her. She was standing at the end of the hall near Gate 17, facing away from us. A woman in an old-fashioned stewardess uniform, blue, white gloves, matching cap. Her feet weren't quite touching the floor. Her shadow was stretched long behind her, even though the lights were overhead. Max whispered, "What the f-?" She turned around. No face. I mean, there was a face, but it was smooth, like skin had been pulled tight over everything. No eyes, no mouth, just this pale oval, but her head twitched like she was looking at us. Her gloved hand pointed, slowly, toward the security checkpoint, and then she screamed, not with her mouth, with the speakers in the ceiling. A burst of static so loud it made the windows shake. Emergency lights started flashing, and the floor began vibrating, like an earthquake, but localized, almost like the building itself was waking up. We ran. We left the suitcase, the tape, everything. I don't even remember how we got out. One moment we were running through the terminal, and the next we were outside, puking next to the fence. Max's nose was bleeding. My ears were ringing. We didn't speak the whole ride back. That was 6 months ago. 2 weeks later, Max disappeared. Straight up, vanished. Left his apartment unlocked. Phone still charging on his desk. Video gear untouched. I deleted the channel that night. But the video, the raw footage, was still on my hard drive. And something's wrong with it. No matter what player I use, I can't skip past the point where we open the suitcase. The file freezes, but the audio keeps playing. And in the background, You can hear someone whispering, over and over again. She waits. Gate 17. She waits. Gate 17. She waits. I haven't slept in 3 days. If anyone knows anything about the 1993 LHR Flight 666 or Sylvia Marshall, please, tell me I'm not crazy. We didn't speak for days. I mean, what could we even say? Max looked pale as hell every time we passed under fluorescent lights, like they reminded him of something. I swear, for a while, he started avoiding shopping malls, airports, even parking garages, anywhere that had overhead lighting or tiled floors. He told me the sound had followed him home. That same muffled intercom static, whispering nonsense in the middle of the night, like it was trying to get through to him from another frequency. I didn't believe him at first. I thought it was paranoia, until I heard it too. It was maybe 3 days after we got back. I was editing footage, what little we had that wasn't corrupted, when my speakers buzzed with this high-pitched frequency I couldn't mute. It wasn't even in the timeline. I checked the audio tracks, and it wasn't there, like it was just coming out of my laptop on its own, whispering through the vents. That night, I dreamt I was on a plane, but I wasn't inside the cabin. I was trapped inside the walls, sandwiched between insulation and wire, my body flattened, lungs crushed like empty bags, and every few seconds I'd hear footsteps overhead and the whirring sound of old conveyor belts, and then her voice. Not speech, not words, just this cold impression that wrapped around my bones like wet linen. You filmed me, and when I woke up, my nose was bleeding. It never bled before. 2 weeks later, Max went missing. He'd been texting me non-stop the few days before. Stuff like, "She's outside my building again." I looked at the tape. It wasn't just a tape. "What year is it? What day?" "She's in the hallway. I'm not joking. Don't pick up unknown numbers. Ever. Ever." The last text he sent was just a photo. No caption. Just this grainy, low-res photo of an empty bathroom stall. One of those old-school airport ones with gray concrete floors and yellow-stained walls. In the far corner of the image, if you squint, you can see the tip of a black shoe and a flight attendant's hat. When I went to his place, it was unlocked. The lights were still on. His phone was sitting on the toilet tank, like he'd just set it down to pee. But the weirdest part, the toilet was full of blood. Thick, dark red. Not splattered, not sprayed, just filled, like something had melted into it. There was no Max, no body, just the faint hum of static from a broken ceiling speaker. The police shrugged it off as a missing person. They said maybe he fled, or maybe it was a prank, but they didn't find the VHS tape. I did. It was in his fridge, wrapped in bubble wrap, like some kind of meat, and I should have thrown it away, burned it, crushed it, but I didn't. I watched it. I blacked out halfway through. The next part is hard to explain, not because I forgot, but because my memory glitches whenever I try to recall it directly. Like there's a corrupt sector in my brain that skips over certain parts unless I force myself. The tape wasn't a video in the usual sense. There was no time code, no intro, just a single, still camera angle, security cam style, set high up in some weird underground hallway, like a service tunnel. You could see a girl in the center of the frame, early 20s maybe, red hair, jeans, white hoodie. She's chained to a gate, literally. Her wrists are locked to the bars with zip ties and old iron cuffs. There's blood down her arms, one eye swollen shut, but she's alive. Every few minutes, a figure walks past her, always from right to left, never speaks, never looks directly at the camera. It's wearing a flight attendant uniform, not the same one from the terminal. This one was wet, stained. The weird part, the girl never reacts, never flinches, never cries, just stares directly into the camera like she knows she's being watched. And then, around the 21-minute mark, something happens. The lights in the tunnel flicker off, pitch black. Then the camera cuts to a McDonald's. I swear to God, a totally normal McDonald's. Bright, modern, one of those airport ones you see near international terminals with USB ports in the seats and looping pop music playing on ceiling speakers. People are eating, happy. There's a family with a stroller, 2 teens taking selfies near the soda machine, a kid crying over spilled fries, all completely normal. And then the camera zooms, like it's being dragged, like someone behind it is slowly pushing it closer, focusing past the people, past the counter, past the grills, towards a single door in the back. It's labeled, restricted, airline crew only. The door opens by itself. Darkness. And from the void, that same woman, the stewardess with no face, crawls out on all fours, body twitching like her joints are made of wire. Not fast, not in a jump scare way, but slow, purposeful, predatory. Nobody in the McDonald's reacts. Nobody even looks up. Not even when she drags something out with her. A body bag. I don't remember what happened after that. All I know is that when I woke up, the VHS tape had been rewound. Not by me. And on the back of the label, in black Sharpie that hadn't been there before, someone had written, "Manifest incomplete. Return to gate 17. Bring a second camera." I stopped uploading, deleted everything, tried to forget. But last week, I got a package. No return address, no postage. Just left on my apartment doorstep, wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a boarding pass, not digital, old school printed, LAX to London Heathrow. April 11th, 1993. Flight 666. Passenger, Max Collier. And under the name, it said, "Final boarding." The pass was damp, smelled like copper. Yesterday, someone used my login to post a new video to my deleted YouTube channel. The title was just, Gate 17 Live Feed. It was only 3 minutes long. It showed a grainy hallway lit with yellow emergency lights, and at the end of it, barely visible through the pixelation, you can see someone chained to a metal gate. They're wearing a white hoodie. Their mouth is stitched shut. Their eyes are mine. I didn't sleep after that upload. I sat on my kitchen floor with my laptop open, refreshing a dead channel like it might blink and confess it was all a prank. The video kept racking up views. Fast. Thousands an hour. The comments were worse. People tagging friends, joking, calling it ARG marketing, saying stuff like Disney level production NGL and Universal Horror Nights vibes. One guy said he recognized the hallway. Another said his uncle used to work there. Another posted coordinates and said, "If this is fake, why does it match the service tunnel under the old international terminal?" The video disappeared after 6 hours. My channel vanished again, harder this time, like it had never existed. My name didn't pull anything up. My old videos were gone from mirrors. Even reaction clips vanished. It was like someone had reached into the internet and pinched me out. But my phone didn't stop vibrating. Unknown numbers, international codes, missed FaceTime calls with no profile photo. One voicemail that was just airport ambience, rolling suitcases, distant announcements. a child laughing, looped for exactly 17 seconds, and cut off with a wet clicking noise, like teeth. I tried to leave my apartment that morning. I made it as far as the hallway. The elevator doors were open. Inside, someone had scratched numbers into the metal panel with something sharp. Not floor numbers, seat numbers, long rows of them, some circled, some crossed out. At the bottom, carved deep enough to bend the metal inward, was a name. Sylvia Marshall. I took the stairs. Outside, the city felt wrong. Not broken, misaligned, like a movie set built half an inch off. Traffic lights lagged a second too long. People's conversations cut off mid-sentence, like buffering audio. A Starbucks on the corner had its doors locked, lights on, baristas inside frozen in place, like mannequins, hands hovering over cups that never filled. I walked past a McDonald's and smelled copper again. That's when I noticed the planes. They weren't landing, they were circling, over and over. Same model, same livery, no airline logo, just white fuselages with black windows. Silent, too low. One of them dipped enough that I could see its underbelly, and painted near the nose gear, small and neat, was the number 17. I went home and packed. Camera, battery packs, external drives. I don't remember deciding to go back. It felt less like a choice, and more like remembering something I'd already promised. The boarding pass was warm in my pocket. The entrance wasn't where it used to be. The fence was gone, the cut wire gone. In its place was a temporary construction barrier, the kind cities throw up overnight. Orange mesh, cheap signs warning of authorized personnel only. One sign had been peeled halfway off. Underneath, etched into the metal, were fingerprints. Hundreds of them, pressed hard, like people had been trying to push through. I crossed without resistance. Inside, the airport wasn't abandoned anymore. It was operating. Not fully, not right, but alive. Lights hummed. Escalators creaked in place. Digital boards flickered with arrivals and departures that didn't exist. Cities spelled wrong. Times looping backward. London, London, London. Gate 17. Always Gate 17. There were people, or things shaped like people. They moved in lines, stopped at kiosks, sat in rows of plastic chairs, with perfect posture, hands folded, eyes fixed on nothing. Their faces were wrong in subtle ways, too smooth, too symmetrical, like someone had averaged human features until all personality leaked out. Some wore modern clothes, some wore styles from the 90s, some wore airline uniforms that didn't match any company I recognized. No one acknowledged me. I walked past a newsstand displaying magazines dated April 1993. The covers showed disasters that never happened. A plane half submerged in the ocean. A smiling flight attendant with blacked out eyes. The headline read, "The manifest grows." My camera started recording on its own. I didn't stop it. Gate 17 wasn't a gate anymore. It was a mouth. The corridor leading to it pulsed. Walls flexed slightly, like they were breathing. The carpet squelched underfoot. Every few steps, the overhead speakers crackled with half announcements, names swallowed by static, boarding calls that ended in screaming feedback. Halfway down, I passed a bathroom. The door was open. Inside, every store was occupied. I could see shoes under each one. Different styles, different eras. None of them moved. The mirrors above the sinks were covered with writing, layered so thick it looked like veins. Film it, don't blink. We didn't land. Ask her about the water. Ask her why we screamed. I kept going. At the end of the corridor, where the gate doors should have been, was a long security checkpoint. Old style. Metal detectors that looked fused to the floor. X-ray machines humming with no screens attached. A single TSA agent stood behind a podium. He looked normal. Too normal. He smiled at me and held out his hand. "Camera," he said. I handed it over without thinking. He turned it around so the lens faced me. "Say your name." I did. The metal detector went off. The agent's smile stretched. His jaw unhinged slightly, just enough to show there was no tongue inside. Only wires. He stamped my boarding pass with a heavy, wet sound and waved me through. "Enjoy your flight," he said, and his voice came out of the speakers behind me instead of his mouth. Beyond security was the plane, not docked, not connected, just there, resting in the middle of the terminal like it had grown out of the floor. Its door was open. The interior lights were on. I climbed the stairs. Inside, every seat was filled. People stared straight ahead, eyes glassy, skin gray. Some had duct tape over their mouths. Some had stitches. Some had airline blankets pulled up to their chins, like they were sleeping. Overhead bins were open, and inside them were shoes, phones, cameras, bones. A flight attendant stood at the front, not the faceless one. This one had a face. It was Max's, stretched, pale, smiling too wide. "Welcome aboard," he said, voice layered with something else, something feminine and old. "We were waiting for you." I tried to run. The aisle narrowed. Hands grabbed my ankles, my wrists. Fingers dug in with inhuman strength, nails biting deep. Passengers turned in unison, mouths opening soundlessly, eyes rolling back to show whites webbed with red. The intercom clicked on. A woman's voice filled the cabin. Calm, professional. "Ladies and gentlemen, this flight will be experiencing minor delays due to incomplete footage. Please remain seated. Screaming will not be tolerated." Max leaned in close. "She doesn't like edits," he whispered. "She doesn't like when people stop watching." Something sharp pressed against my cheek. The camera lens. Smile. I woke up on the floor of the terminal, alone. The plane was gone. Gate 17 was sealed with concrete, still wet, still stemming. Embedded in it were objects, phones, watches, cameras, half swallowed like insects in amber. At eye level, someone had pressed a final message into the surface before it hardened. Part 4 is boarding. My camera lay beside me, still recording. When I checked the footage later, there were hours I don't remember filming. Hours of me standing in front of the sealed gate, talking to it, apologizing, promising, asking her what she wanted next. And in the reflection of the lens, behind my own eyes, I could see a stewardess adjusting her gloves, watching, waiting. Time stopped working after that. Not in a poetic way. Literally. My phone said it was Tuesday for 3 days straight. The battery never dropped below 83%. Every clock I passed showed a different hour, but all of them flickered to 11:17 when I stared too long. I stopped trusting mirrors because sometimes they lagged, like bad internet, my reflection smiling a fraction of a second after I did, sometimes not smiling at all. I tried to leave the city. That was my first mistake. I booked a bus ticket online, normal site, normal confirmation email. When I showed up at the station, the terminal smelled wrong, too clean, like bleach layered over rot. The departure board glitched when it saw me. Rows of destinations scrambled, then reassembled into a single line. Delayed. Please wait for further instructions. The driver looked at my ticket and frowned. He turned it over, then over again, like the words kept moving. "This isn't a bus ticket," he said. It was a boarding pass, different from the first one. New name this time. Passenger. You already know. Seat, standing gate. Any. He handed it back like it burned him. I didn't get on the bus. People started recognizing me. Not in a fan way, in a knowing way. A guy at a convenience store leaned over the counter and whispered, "You shouldn't have paused the video." A woman walking her dog across the street mouthed, "Keep filming," without breaking stride. A kid on TikTok duetted a clip of the Gate 17 live feed with his face blurred out and said, "My dad worked there. He never came home." The comments were worse. People claiming the uploads were getting flagged if they mentioned the airport. People saying their Google Maps routes kept rerouting past fenced-off areas near terminals. One person posted a photo from Heathrow, Terminal 3 bathroom mirror, with condensation spelling, "She remembers you." I tried to warn them. Every post got deleted within minutes. Accounts shadow banned. Messages bounced back with error codes that didn't exist. One DM came through though. No username, no avatar. Part 4 is late. Attached was a video file. It wasn't from my camera. The video opened on a food court. Bright, colorful. One of those modern airport ones with fake plants and giant screens looping ads for vacation packages. A Starbucks in the corner. A McDonald's with a self-order kiosk glowing softly. Everything looked normal enough that my stomach dropped. Normal is worse now. The camera moved smoothly, like it was on a stabilizer, drifting past tables where people ate and laughed. None of them blinked. Their jaws moved, chewing in perfect unison. Fries rose to mouths at the same angle. Cups tilted the same degree. A child dropped a nugget, and 5 heads turned to watch it hit the floor. The camera stopped at a trash can. Inside was a pile of phones, cracked, bent, some still vibrating. A hand entered the frame, gloved, airline blue, and dropped another phone on top. The screen lit up as it fell. I recognized my own lock screen photo before it went dark. The camera panned up. She stood there, not faceless this time. Her face was assembled, like it had been borrowed in pieces. One eye too old, one too young, a mouth that smiled with the wrong muscles. Her name tag read, Sylvia, letters scratched deep and refilled over and over. She leaned toward the lens. "You keep stopping," she said gently. "They don't." Behind her, the McDonald's menu flickered. Every item replaced by a single word. Manifest. That night, my apartment building went into lockdown. Not officially. No alarms. No announcements. The doors just wouldn't open. The windows showed the wrong outside. Runways where streets should be. Planes taxiing past my fire escape. The neighbor across the hall knocked on my door at 2:17 a.m. When I opened it, he stood there holding a suitcase. "I think this is yours," he said. It was the Samsonite. Pristine. Heavy. I didn't open it. He smiled anyway. Too wide. Same smile Max had worn at the front of the plane. "They're boarding," he said, and walked back to his apartment. I heard zippers, locks, the click of a latch, then screaming, then the intercom voice seeping through the vents like gas. "Passengers, please remain calm. This is a temporary layover." I backed away from the door. My TV turned on by itself. Every channel showed the same thing. A long hallway, yellow lit, stretching farther than it should. People stood chained along the walls at regular intervals. Some cried, some laughed, some stared straight into the camera with eyes that had given up on being eyes. I recognized faces from the comment section. One of them was the kid from TikTok. Another was the bus driver. Another was me. Not a reflection, not a trick. Me, older, thinner, mouth stitched, holding a camera with shaking hands. The version of me on the screen spoke without moving his lips. "She's building something," he said. "An airport that doesn't land." The screen cut to black. Text appeared, white on black, like a title card. "You are the layover." I tried to destroy the footage. Hard drive smashed. SD card snapped. Cloud accounts deleted. It didn't matter. The files reappeared, renamed, reorganized, edited without me. Chapters added. Thumbnails generated. Part 4 went live on a channel I didn't own. The view count climbed faster than anything I'd ever uploaded. People couldn't look away. I started feeling it then. The pull. Every time someone watched, something loosened inside me. Like a knot untying. Like my bones were remembering how to stand in line. How to wait. How to belong somewhere with a gate number. I found myself packing without realizing it. Camera charged. Batteries full. Boarding pass in my hand. Now laminated. Now stamped. Now warm and pulsing like it had a heartbeat. On the back, in neat handwriting, "Final destination. Pending content required outside." Planes roared overhead. Closer now. Lower. The city lights dimmed in sequence, like runway markers. And somewhere, inside the walls, inside the wires, inside the millions of screens watching, a stewardess adjusted her gloves and smiled. I don't remember leaving my apartment. I remember standing in the doorway with the suitcase at my feet, camera in my hand, shoes on, even though I don't remember putting them on. I remember the hallway lights dimming one by one as I walked, like the building was conserving power for something more important than me. Every door I passed had a strip of paper slid underneath it. Boarding passes, all identical, all stamped, all warm. Outside, the street was empty. No cars, no sirens, no wind. The sky looked wrong, not dark, sealed, like a lid pressed down too low. The clouds moved in straight lines, grid perfect, like traffic patterns. Somewhere above them, something massive shifted its weight, and the ground vibrated in response, a low thrumming that settled into my chest and stayed there. I walked. I don't know how long. Time didn't announce itself anymore. Streets stretched and folded, landmarks repeating in the wrong order. A Starbucks I'd passed twice already appeared again, then again, each time more stripped down. Chairs gone, menu boards blank, employees standing behind the counter with their backs turned, humming the same note. Eventually, the airport rose out of the horizon, not the one from before. This one hadn't been abandoned. It hadn't been built. It looked grown. Concrete fused with bone-white supports. Glass panels clouded from the inside, like breath had been trapped there for years. Runways spiraled instead of running straight, looping into themselves like coiled snakes. Planes sat parked with no visible engines, no markings, the doors open and waiting. Above the main entrance, a digital sign flickered. "Welcome back." No name. Just that. Inside, terminal was packed. Not crowded. Full. Every inch occupied by people standing shoulder to shoulder, all facing the same direction. No one spoke. No one moved, unless the line moved. And when it did, it slid forward with a soft, collective sound, like fabric dragging over concrete. I stepped into the line without deciding to. The suitcase rolled behind me on its own. Every few seconds, someone peeled off to the side, guided gently by a flight attendant. Not dragged, not forced, just accepted. Those people didn't come back. The line closed behind them seamlessly. like they'd never existed. Overhead screens showed footage, not news, not ads, videos, grainy, shaky, first person, people exploring places they shouldn't, abandoned malls, tunnels, empty schools, old hotels. Each clip ended the same way, the camera turning towards something just out of frame, the image freezing, the audio continuing for a few seconds longer than it should. I recognized some of the videos. Some I'd watched, some I'd commented on, some I'd laughed at. My turn came faster than I expected. A flight attendant stepped in front of me. Not Sylvia. This one looked newer, younger, her uniform crisp, her smile rehearsed. Her eyes, though, those were wrong. They reflected runways instead of light. "Do you have any carry-on content?" she asked. I nodded. She gestured to the suitcase. "Open it, please." My hand shook as I unlatched it. Inside wasn't the tape anymore. Inside were drives, dozens of them, labeled in my handwriting, dates, titles, places. Some I remembered filming, others I didn't. At the bottom was one last drive, larger than the rest, marked simply, "Arrival." The attendant lifted it with both hands, reverent. "Thank you for contributing," she said. "You've done very well." "Where am I going?" I asked. She tilted her head, considering. "Where everyone goes," she said. "Eventually." They led me through a door that wasn't on any map. Behind it was the control room. Rows and rows of monitors stacked floor to ceiling, each one playing a different feed. Airports around the world. Big ones, small ones, some that didn't exist yet, some that shouldn't exist anymore. Every camera angle imaginable. Bathrooms, service tunnels, food courts, gates. At the center of the room was her, Sylvia. She stood perfectly still, hands folded, watching everything at once. Her face had settled into something more stable now. Still wrong, still stitched together from eras and expressions that didn't belong, but complete, finished. "You came," she said without turning. "I didn't want to," I replied. She smiled anyway. "They never do." She finally faced me. Up close, I could see the truth of her. Layers, faces beneath faces, the faint outlines of other people pressing against her skin from the inside, like they were trying to remember how to be separate. "You filmed," she said. "You watched. You shared. You brought them." "I stopped," I said. She shook her head. "No," she said softly. "You paused." She stepped aside and showed me the largest screen in the room. It was live. A familiar website loaded. A familiar post. This one. Thousands of people reading, scrolling, listening, waiting. "With every view," she continued, "the terminal expands. With every second watched, another gate opens. Fear is movement. Attention is fuel." "What happens when it ends?" I asked. She looked genuinely confused. "Why would it end?" She offered me a choice. Not freedom. Not escape. A role. I could stay as I was, standing in line forever, watching arrivals that never touched down, feeling myself thin out until I was just another reflection in a dark screen. Or I could keep filming, become what Max became, what the others became, a guide, a familiar face, someone people trusted enough to follow. "You already know how," she said. "You've always known." She handed me the camera. It felt right in my hands, balanced, hungry. On one of the monitors, a new explorer slipped through a fence somewhere, laughing, nervous, excited. His chat exploded with encouragement. Dares, coordinates. I recognized the look on his face. I turned the camera on myself. Behind me, Sylvia adjusted her gloves. Somewhere far above, a plane roared to life. If you're reading this, and your screen flickers for a second, If your audio lags, or you smell something metallic, or you feel like you're being gently herded toward a decision you didn't remember making, don't rewind, don't pause, and whatever you do, don't go looking for gate 17, because the airport doesn't disappear. It just waits. And now that you've made it this far, you're already on the manifest. I volunteered on the dark web for a late night shift at animal shelter, but one cage held something that wasn't animal. Yo, I know this sounds fake. Hell, if I wasn't the one who lived through it, I'd think it was some creepypasta made up by a high schooler with too much free time and a monster energy addiction. But I swear, every word I'm about to say happened. And if you're reading this at night, maybe turn a light on. It all started with a Reddit post. No, seriously. I was scrolling late one night, somewhere between insomnia and doom scrolling, when I found a post on r/oddjobs that caught my eye. Late night animal shelter, volunteer needed, must not ask questions. Yeah, that was the whole post. No location listed. No contact info, just a link. Sketchy, right? And here's where I made my first mistake. I clicked the link. It took me to a tall mirror. That's right, straight to the deep web. And I know what you're thinking. Why the hell didn't I click off? Close the tab, throw my laptop in a lake, get an exorcism, whatever. But the page was clean. Nothing illegal popped up. It looked like a job board for weirdos, honestly. Like Craigslist's edgy twin that smokes behind a Walmart. And in the middle of the page was that same ad. Volunteers needed for nighttime shelter work. Paid in Bitcoin. No experience necessary. Must be available from midnight to 4 a.m. Must sign NDA. No phones. No questions. I was broke. Like ramen 3 times a day broke. My Uber Eats driver knew me by name, and my credit score was allergic to sunlight. So yeah, I bit. There was a survey, basic stuff. Do you scare easily? Are you familiar with animal behavior? Can you keep secrets? I filled it out half laughing, thinking I'd never hear back. 2 hours later, I got a reply in my Proton Mail inbox. Subject, welcome. Message. Your shift begins tonight at 12 a.m. Dress in black. Do not tell anyone. Arrive at the back entrance of Northbridge Shelter, Unit B. Do not enter the front. Knock 5 times. Wait, then knock once. Do not knock twice. Payment will be sent upon shift completion. And just like that, I was in. I live just outside of Chicago, so I looked up the shelter. Turns out, Northbridge was a real place. Got good reviews on Yelp and everything. 5 stars. People loved it. They even had TikToks of their rescues getting adopted and licking peanut butter off spoons. The kind of wholesome crap that makes people cry at 2 a.m. But Unit B, there was no mention of a Unit B anywhere. Not on the website, not on Google Maps. Nothing. Of course, I still went. I got there at 11:55 p.m. Waze took me down this long industrial road behind a Walmart, the kind where all the lights flicker and you suddenly forget how to breathe. The main shelter looked normal. Bright windows, little paw print decals, the works. But around the back was this rusty metal door with B spray painted in red. It didn't even look like it belonged to the same building. It felt off, like it had history, the bad kind. I did the knock, 5 times, waited, then 1 knock. Nothing happened for a good 30 seconds. I was starting to feel stupid when the door creaked open on its own. No one standing there. The hallway inside was dark, Not pitch black, but dim. Flickering fluorescent tubes ran along the ceiling, buzzing just loud enough to make my skin crawl. I stepped in, and the door slammed shut behind me like it was spring-loaded. There was a small desk, and behind it, a woman who looked like she hadn't slept since MySpace was relevant. Pale, dark circles under her eyes, a tight black ponytail. She didn't speak, just slid a clipboard across the table. Sign. The form was short. It was the NDA, legalese gibberish, something about forfeiting rights to discuss classified operations regarding anomalous specimens. I honestly didn't care. I scribbled my name and handed it back. She stood up, grabbed a walkie-talkie, and nodded towards the hallway. They're waiting. Room 6. Don't open any other doors. And then she was gone. The hallway was colder than the lobby. I passed metal doors labeled 1 through 5. From behind them, I heard sounds. Not barking, not meowing, just sounds, like nails on metal. Breathing that didn't sound like it came from lungs. Whispers that stopped the second I stepped past. Room 6 was at the end. Inside, there were cages, dozens of them, clean, organized. Some had dogs, some had cats. All of them looked normal, if a little skittish. A golden retriever flinched when I got near, but didn't growl. A tabby cat was curled up with its back to me, tail twitching like it was angry at something I couldn't see. But then I saw the last cage. It was in the corner. Heavy-duty metal bars, double lock, reinforced glass window. A handwritten sign hung on the front. Cage 9, do not engage. The cage was cold. Like standing near it dropped the temperature of the room by 10 degrees. There was condensation on the metal like it was a fridge, and something inside moved. I swear to God, it was an animal. It was shaped like a person, but too thin, way too thin. Its arms were too long. It sat in the back of the cage, knees to chest, head down. I couldn't see its face. It didn't make a sound, not a growl, not a whisper. But the second I stepped near, I felt this pressure behind my eyes, like something was thinking too hard at me, like it knew things it shouldn't. I backed away. A voice crackled over the walkie. Feeding schedule begins at 12:30. Avoid cage 9. If it speaks, do not answer. So I stayed. I did the job. I fed the dogs, cleaned a few litter boxes. Every now and then, I'd glance at cage 9. It never moved, never made a sound. Until 3:47 a.m. I was sweeping near the back when I heard it. My name. It said my name. Not shouted, whispered. It sounded like me, like my own voice, coming from inside that cage. Hey, it's me. Let me out. That was the end of my first shift. There's more. So much more. I've got 4 more nights to tell you about. And trust me, it only gets worse from here. I didn't sleep the next day. Couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that thing in cage 9, curled up in the dark like it wanted me to think it was weak. That voice, my voice, it hadn't just imitated it. It understood it. Same pauses, same stammer, same scratch in the throat I get when I'm nervous. It wasn't mocking, it was copying. I told myself I wasn't going back, but around 11:45 p.m., I found myself in the same black hoodie, same jeans, same parking lot, behind the same Walmart, staring at that same rusted metal door like it was daring me to knock again. I wish I could say I was being brave, but truth is, I wanted answers. I knocked 5 times, waited, then once. The door opened again. Same woman behind the desk, only this time she was holding something, a small black pill bottle. She slid it across the desk. Didn't speak. Just pointed to it. "Tonight, you'll need this." I picked it up. No label. Childproof cap. Rattled like maybe 6 pills inside. I asked her what it was for. She smiled for the first time. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the kind of smile people make when they watch a bug crawl into a trap they've laid. To remember less, or maybe more, depends how the night goes. She handed me the walkie, then stood. Same words as before. "Room 6. Don't open other doors." But I did. Not immediately. At first, I tried to follow the rules. I made it to room 6. The same cold metallic zoo of normal animals, and one not. Cage 9 was still sealed, but something had changed. The cage next to it, cage 8, was empty. Like, not just the animal was missing. The whole cage was gone. Floor tiles scratched where it had been dragged. A dark stain on the concrete that looked like someone had tried to mop it up, but gave up halfway. I did my rounds fast that night. Fed the dogs. Avoided the corners. I didn't even look at cage 9, but that walkie crackled again, just like before. 3 a.m. Bring food to room 7. I stared at it. Room 7 hadn't been mentioned before. It wasn't on the whole map. It didn't even exist the night before. I responded. "There is no room 7. Silence. Then crackling static. A voice replied, garbled like it was underwater and glitching at the same time. "You'll see it now." And just like that, it was there. At the end of the hall, past where room 6 should have been the final door, there was now a 7th. Identical metal slab. Number burned in instead of painted. Like it had been branded on with something hot enough to scorch steel. I held the food tray. Dry kibble, a raw steak, and what looked like a sealed pouch of human baby food. No joke. Gerber, bananas, and rice. Why the hell would that be needed? I knocked. No one answered. I opened the door. Room 7 wasn't a room. It was a tunnel, lined with concrete, sloped downward, lit only by red emergency lights, bolted into the ceiling. It reeked. Not like poop or wet dog. Not even rot. It smelled like an open wound. Like when you scrape your knee and get that rusty meat metal stink of your own blood. I stepped in, and the door closed behind me. The walkie hissed. "Don't stop. It's hungry tonight." I walked. The tunnel twisted and dropped like it wasn't built, but dug. The walls were uneven. Some places looked clawed. Others looked melted. There were doors along the sides. No numbers. Just scratches. Symbols. Carvings. Some that looked like teeth. One that looked like it had been drawn with a finger dipped in bile. I passed one open door. Inside was a single hanging light bulb and a pile of fur. Not animal fur. Human hair. Curly. Black. Bleached ends. The kind of hair you see on TikTok influencers. Just dumped in the middle of a dark room. No scalp. No blood. Just hair. I kept going. Room 7 turned into something else the deeper I got. It felt alive, like the walls were breathing. The red lights began pulsing. There was a low hum, not like a machine, but like vocal cords, vibrating with hunger. And then I saw them, the cages, row after row, lining the tunnel. Some empty, some not. One had a mirror inside, and a girl sitting cross-legged in front of it, staring, unblinking. She turned when I passed and smiled. Her teeth were all the same. All of them. Same size. No canines. No molars. Just a perfect row of 32 exact teeth, like little white rectangles punched into her gums. She said, "You'll join us," and vanished. Just like that. The mirror cracked. Another cage held what I thought was a dog, until it stood on 2 legs and asked me how my mom was doing. It said her name, her full name, maiden name and all. I hadn't told anyone here about my mom. I dropped the tray. Didn't care. I ran. I don't remember climbing out. All I remember is the door slamming behind me, the hallway gone, and the woman at the desk waiting with a new clipboard. "You're not scheduled for tomorrow." I asked her what the hell room 7 was, what was in there, why it knew my name, my family, why one cage held a mirror and another held something that smelled like my childhood bedroom. She didn't answer. She handed me the pill bottle again. "You want the truth, or do you want to sleep tonight?" I took the pills, all of them, and I still didn't sleep. The next morning, I got a voicemail. No number, just static, and then a whisper. "You were never supposed to see room 8. But I hadn't. Not yet. Until the video. I opened my phone to a new file in my gallery. I hadn't taken it. It was labeled. It showed me, standing in front of cage 9, but the cage was open, and I was reaching out my hand. To me. There were 2 of me. One inside, one smiling, one walking out, and one staying behind. Still smiling. I deleted the video. That was my first instinct. I didn't analyze it, didn't zoom in, didn't slow it down like every true crime YouTuber screams at you to do. I just held my thumb down until the trash icon popped up and watched it disappear. Then my phone vibrated. File restored. No notification, no app name. Just that message floating on my screen like a threat pretending to be a system update. I put the phone face down on my kitchen table and backed away like it might bite me. My apartment felt wrong after that. Too quiet. The fridge hum sounded like breathing. The TV reflected the hallway behind me, and I kept expecting to see someone standing there, wearing my face, like it finally figured out how to fit it properly. I didn't go to work that night. I didn't go the next night either. That's when things escalated. The first sign was Instagram. I opened the app on autopilot, thumb flicking through reels like muscle memory, when I saw myself on my own feed. Not a selfie, not a repost, a brand new story, black background, white text. Night shift again, posted 12 minutes ago. My heart slammed so hard, I thought I was going to throw up. I checked my location history. I'd been home all night. My Apple Watch backed it up. No steps, no movement, no late night walk I didn't remember. But the story had a location tag. Northbridge Shelter. I tapped it. The video loaded. It was shaky, filmed like someone trying not to be obvious. The camera panned across the back hallway, the one I knew too well, and then stopped on a door I'd never seen before. Not room 7, not 8. This one had no number at all, just a symbol scratched into the metal. 3 vertical lines crossed by a circle, like a stick figure trapped inside its own head. Then the camera turned, and there I was, standing behind the phone, smiling. Not a friendly smile, not a creepy grin either, just neutral, empty, like a mannequin that learned how to stretch skin over teeth. The video ended. My phone rang immediately after. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. That was my second mistake. The voice on the other end sounded tired, not distorted, not whispering, just exhausted, like someone who'd been pulling double shifts for weeks. "You can't just quit," it said. I recognized it instantly. It was mine, not the way Cage 9 had copied me, not rehearsed, not wrong. This was how I sounded in my own head. "You signed," it continued, "and someone has to stay." I hung up. The call came back instantly. Again, again, again. I put my phone on airplane mode and shoved it into a drawer. Then I sat on my couch until sunrise, staring at the door, replaying every sound I heard, trying to decide which ones were real and which ones were learning. Around noon, there was a knock. Not on my apartment door, on my bedroom door. I live alone. I froze. The knock came again, slow, careful, like whoever was on the other side knew exactly how much pressure to apply to avoid making noise. I grabbed the heaviest thing near me, a dumbbell I never used, and stepped toward the door. "It's me," a voice said softly. I didn't answer. The doorknob turned. I hadn't locked it. The door opened just enough for me to see an eye through the gap. My eye. Same scar under the brow from when I was a kid. Same bloodshot veins. Same tiny twitch when I was nervous. "They're noticing you," it said. "You weren't supposed to remember." I slammed the door shut and threw my weight against it. The handle rattled once, then nothing. When I finally opened it again, the hallway was empty, but on the carpet outside my room was a plastic keycard, black, with no writing, just that same symbol burned into it. I didn't want to go back. That's the part people won't understand. I didn't want to, but every screen I looked at started showing the same thing. YouTube thumbnails that weren't real. Ads that weren't ads. A McDonald's commercial that cut to a single frame of that symbol before returning to a smiling family biting into burgers like nothing was wrong. Even Google Maps glitched. I searched directions to Starbucks, my usual one downtown, and the route detoured, straight past Northbridge. A new review popped up on the shelter's page. "Staff works very late. Always someone there. No username. Posted just now." That night, I used the keycard. The back door opened without a sound. Inside, the hallway lights were brighter, cleaner, like they'd been upgraded. The desk was empty. The woman was gone. Room 6 was empty too. All the cages were open, clean, unused, except one. Cage 9 was gone. In its place was a desk, a computer, a swivel chair, and a clipboard. On the clipboard was a schedule. My name. Every night, indefinitely. The computer screen flickered to life on its own. A live feed appeared. It showed my apartment, my couch, my bedroom door, and me, standing there, watching the screen. Behind me, in the reflection of the monitor, something moved. It leaned closer and closer and whispered, "You're on break." I'm not. I don't know how long I stood there. I don't know how long it's been working instead of me, but I just found another video on my phone. This one is dated tomorrow, and I'm already in it. I tried to destroy everything that proved it existed. That was my logic. Primitive. Desperate. The kind you get when your brain starts filing restraining orders against reality. I smashed my old phone with a hammer in my bathtub so the neighbors wouldn't hear. I wiped my laptop, pulled the hard drive out, bent it in half like a soda can. I logged into every social account I had and changed the passwords to random keyboard smash nonsense, then deleted the accounts entirely. Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, even my LinkedIn. I wanted to become a ghost before whatever was wearing my skin finished learning how to smile convincingly. For 12 hours, it worked. Then the TV turned on by itself. I don't even have cable, just a smart TV with streaming apps and that stupid ambient screensaver that shows drone shots of cities. This time, it didn't show mountains or skylines. It showed me. Not live, not quite. The footage was grainy, tinted green like night vision. A timestamp blinked in the corner. 2:13 a.m. Northbridge/internal. I was standing in front of a long stainless steel table. the kind you see in vet clinics or industrial kitchens. My hands were gloved. My posture was relaxed, comfortable, like I'd done this 1,000 times. On the table was a large black body bag. It twitched. I lunged for the power button. The TV didn't turn off. On screen, I unzipped the bag. Inside wasn't an animal. Inside was a man, barely alive. Eyes open, mouth gagged. The look on his face wasn't fear anymore. It was resignation, like whatever fight he had left had already been taken out, back, and put down. My on-screen self leaned close to the camera and spoke clearly. "This is training footage." I screamed at the TV to shut up. It kept playing. The footage cut. New angle. A hallway I didn't recognize. Wider. Cleaner. Bright white walls with cartoon paw prints painted along the baseboards, like this place still wanted to pretend it was something wholesome. There were doors on either side, each with a name instead of a number. Not human names. Words. Listening. Mimicry. Bonding. Replacement. The camera lingered on that last one. The door was scratched to hell. Deep grooves, like something had tried to claw its way out and failed. My reflection appeared in the glass. Behind it, something moved. The footage cut again. I don't remember leaving my apartment, but I remember standing across the street from the shelter at 3:30 in the morning, rain soaking through my hoodie, my feet numb from a cold concrete. I remember thinking, if I don't go in now, it will come to me instead. The back door was already open. Inside, the building had changed again. The walls were freshly painted. The floor was polished. There were posters up now. Bright, friendly designs that looked like they'd been ripped straight out of a Disney movie. Every creature deserves a home. Someone had added a line underneath in red marker. Even if it has to take one. I followed the sound of voices. Not shouting, not whispering. Instruction. There was a room filled with monitors. Dozens of them. Each one showed a different person in a different place. A guy asleep in the back booth of a McDonald's off I-95. A girl filming a TikTok in a Starbucks bathroom mirror, adjusting her eyeliner. A family unloading luggage outside a hotel near Disneyland. Kids bouncing with excitement. Each screen had a small label in the corner. Potential low resistance. High compatibility. I saw myself on 3 different screens. One sleeping in my bed. One standing in the shelter. One somewhere else. Somewhere dark. The version of me from the videos was standing in the room, hands clasped behind its back, like a proud tour guide. "We used to hunt," it said calmly. "Now we recruit." I asked it what it was. It smiled. Not wide, not sharp, just satisfied. "We're continuity." It showed me the cages, not animal cages, not anymore. Rooms. Rooms made to look like places people felt safe. A child's bedroom, a college dorm, a cheap motel with a buzzing neon sign visible through the window. Each room had someone in it. Alive. Talking. Laughing even. They didn't know they were being watched. They didn't know they were being studied. "We don't kill unless we have to," the thing wearing my face said. Why waste a perfectly good life? I watched a screen where a woman sat crying on the edge of a bed, FaceTiming someone and saying she felt like she wasn't herself anymore. The label under her feed blinked. Replacement in progress. I don't remember attacking it. I remember pain. A lot of it. I remember being slammed into a wall hard enough that my vision burst into white stars. I remember my own hands around my throat, squeezing with clinical precision. It leaned close, breath warm on my ear. "You think you're the original?" It whispered. "You think you're the first?" Then it showed me something that finally broke whatever was left of me. A storage room. Rows of lockers, each one labeled with a date. Inside one was a phone. My old phone. Cracked screen. Same case. Inside another. A wallet. My wallet. Driver's license and all. Different photo. Same name. They didn't kill me. That's the part that should scare you the most. They put me somewhere safe. Somewhere comfortable. A room that looked exactly like my apartment. Same couch. Same TV. Same dumb dent in the wall I never fixed. The door locked from the outside. The speaker crackled to life. "You're going to stay here," the voice said. "Watch. Learn. And when you're ready..." The lights dimmed. A screen turned on. It showed my life continuing without me. Friends texting. Work emails being answered. Photos being posted. Smiles being perfected. It was better at being me than I ever was. I don't know how long I've been in here. Days, weeks. Time doesn't work right anymore. But I just heard the lock click, and someone is on the other side of the door, breathing. The door didn't open all the way. It stopped inches short, like whoever was on the other side wanted to see how I'd react before deciding how much space I deserved. Light spilled in, a warmer light than I'd seen anywhere in that building before. Not fluorescent, not surgical, soft, inviting. A voice spoke from the gap. Not mine, not exactly. "You've been doing great." The door opened fully. It wasn't the thing wearing my face this time. Not the polished version that answered my emails and laughed at the right jokes. This one was older, thinner. Its skin didn't sit right, like it had been stretched and re-stretched too many times. Its eyes were wrong in a way I can't fully explain. Too attentive, like a therapist who enjoys your pain a little too much. It gestured behind it. "Come on, you don't want to miss this." I followed. What choice did I have? The shelter was alive. That's the only word for it. The halls were filled with people, families, couples, kids dragging parents by the hands. There were balloons tied to railings, paper banners hung from the ceiling. Adoption Day. Someone had even set up a coffee station near the front. Branded cups, smiling volunteers in matching shirts. I recognized one of them. He used to be on one of the screens. A guy from a McDonald's, off I-95. He caught my eye and waved. I didn't wave back. The cages were different now. Glass fronts, clean bedding, name cards clipped to the corners like this was some kind of pet expo. Except the names weren't cute. Buddy, Luna, Charlie. Human names. The things inside them stood up when people approached, smiled, tilted their heads in practiced curiosity. One knelt down to let a child pet its hair. The child laughed. The mother took pictures. I watched the handler, my replacement, walk through the room, chatting, shaking hands, answering questions. It was flawless. No one suspected a thing. They led me to the final cage. It was empty. A clipboard hung from the front. My name was written at the top. Under it, a single word, available. The older thing leaned close. "You're special," it said. "You lasted longer than most." I asked what happened to the others. It shrugged. Some get recycled, some get released, some become training material. I thought of the footage, the body bag, the lockers. I didn't ask which category I fit into. They took me to a small room near the front. It looked like an office a guidance counselor might use. Beige walls, motivational posters, a plant in the corner that was definitely fake. There was a camera mounted in the corner. A red light blinked on. "Final evaluation," the voice said from a speaker. "Just answer honestly." The questions were simple. Did I feel disconnected from my life? Did I ever feel like someone else could do a better job being me? Did I believe people were replaceable? I answered yes to all of them, not because I wanted to, because by then I knew it was true. The door opened again. A family stood there. Mom, Dad, teen daughter, tourist clothes, Mickey Mouse hoodie. They looked tired, but excited, like they'd just spent a week at Universal and wanted one last good memory before flying home. The daughter looked at me, smiled. "This one seems quiet," she said. The handler nodded. "He's been through a lot," it replied gently, "but he adapts quickly." They asked if I was safe. They asked if I was friendly. They asked if I'd be okay with traveling. I answered when prompted. Short, polite, cooperative. The clipboard was signed. The last thing they did was take my phone. Not my current one. The old one. The cracked one. They handed it back to me as we walked out the front door. "You can keep this," the handler whispered. "We like when the originals leave something behind." Outside, the sun was blinding. The parking lot was full. Cars came and went. Life continued. As we reached their rental car, my phone buzzed. A notification. Reddit. A new post. Posted by U/Northbridge volunteer. The title was already familiar. I volunteered on the dark web for a late night shift at an animal shelter, where one cage held something that wasn't animal. I opened it. Part 1 was there. Word for word. Posted minutes ago. I'm writing this from the back seat of a car driving away from the shelter. They think I'm asleep. They think I'm adopted. But sometimes, when the road goes quiet and the lights blur just right, I see reflections in the window that don't match my movements. I don't know how long before I stop remembering which version of me this is. All I know is this. If you ever see a late night volunteer post asking for help, if you ever hear about a shelter that only needs people after midnight, if you ever feel like your life could be handled better by someone else, they're already watching, and they're very good at finding homes.